What is up, guys? Back once again with another build video. This one is anime themed again because my previous One Punch Man video did super well, so you know I had to make another for you guys. Just be sure to drop a fat fucking like and a massive sub as always, and comment what you want to see next, and let's get right into this build. I've tested everything I possibly could with this build in order to not only look super similar to Sasuke's, but to fit his most iconic jutsus in it as well, and if you follow it my way, it'll be the best way to maximize your damage output as a viable Dex Faith build. But of course, you can always make your own changes or adjustments to become more comfortable as you see fit, but what I'm about to show you is how I min-max my stats and items to make the build as efficient as possible. In either PvE or PvP, this build takes a little bit of skill to get used to, but hey, knock yourself out if you want to try it because it's really fun. Though I found it to be more efficient in PvP instead of bosses, but it's up to you with how you want to use it. And don't forget, let's get a quick little drip check for the cosplay as well. It's pretty fucking solid as far as you can get with Elden Ring outfits, but keep in mind, this cosplay gives you almost no defensive stats. So to fix that, let's jump straight into the talisman. This build consists of mainly fire and lightning based attacks similar to what Sasuke primarily uses, being focused around Dex and Faith. However, we will not be using neither the fire nor the lightning scorpion talisman as we lose way too much defense with them on and get absolutely demolished with negative defensive stats. Keep in mind that these are actually percentages and not flat integers. First off, we will be using the 𝙀�ㄫ𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿 favor to give us some additional HP, stamina, and equip load, which is always nice because we want to maximize our damage in our stats and then have the talisman make up for some extra stamina and equip load bonuses. The Dragon Crest Great Shield is also extremely important as it gives us a nice chunk of physical defensive stats, which will at least help you tank a few extra hits if you really want to commit to the cosplay. For the third slot, you can utilize either Flock's Canvas for more spell damage or the Old Lord's Talisman to extend the duration of our lightning buffs, which I'll get to in a bit. And for our last slot, the Dexterity Heirloom is also nice, but you could use Millicent's Prosthesis if you want. It's just harder to get than the Heirloom, but either one will bring our total Dexterity from 35 to 40, which will allow us to hit the first of multiple soft caps for Dex, which now brings us to our total stat sheet. Start off, I am so tired of seeing people die in one hit because they only put like 20 base points into their HP. Like, bro, you guys need to make sure you have at least 40 points, and you could even go up as far as 60 if you really suck at dodging attacks. Next up, we got our FP. 27 Mind will allow us to use quite a few jutsus before we're completely drained. If you want to focus more on your spells, pump more points into Mind, but if you want to focus more on melee attacks, you'll want to get more stamina, which as you can see, we currently have base endurance, and it seems like very little, but honestly, I had no issues with this. But if you do, feel free to put more points into both Mind and endurance if you want to use this build at a higher level. I intentionally keep my character at level 125 because it's more comfortable as a longtime Dark Souls player, but you guys can do whatever you want. I don't know, I'm not your fucking dad. Strength, Int, and Arcane are based because we started with the Samurai class and all our damage will come from Dex and Faith. In order to min-max our damage, we'll just barely be reaching the soft caps of both Dexterity and Faith. 40 is the first soft cap for Dexterity and 60 is the first soft cap for Faith, but again, there are multiple, which is another video I've been meaning to make. But anyways, I only had enough for 35 points of Dex, which if you recall earlier is why I used the Dexterity Talisman that gives me plus 5 attribute points to nicely reach the soft cap of 40, which equates to around 20 additional AR. Weapons. This will be the most important stuff here, so make sure you pay close attention to everything. I'll be covering all the weapons you should use and the Ashes of War you need to put on them. Obviously, you'll need to have a katana, so you can either pick the old reliable Uchi-katana or the Nagakiba, which you won't have enough strength to one-hand, but remember, two-handing gives a 1.5 times bonus towards your total strength and attribute and allows you to reach that 18 strength requirement anyways.
But Syrobe, why didn't you mention the dragon scale katana? It's literally a lightning katana. You're so stupid for not talking about—
Okay, I'm not sure if this is a hot take, But man, that weapon fucking sucks. Don't get me wrong, it's cool, but that's literally all it is. It's legit less total damage because of its scaling for dexterity, which only goes up to a B, but even when it's maxed out. On top of that, the Dragon Scale weapon art costs 25 fucking mana and only lasts 20 seconds, but it takes 3 seconds to use, so it's really only 17 seconds and can easily be interrupted, on top of it only giving around 130 extra damage. You'll reach a higher AR just by using the Electrify Armament Incantation, which gives a 0.75 times bonus of lightning damage based on your incant scaling from your Sacred Seal for 90 seconds. Which can also be increased to almost 2 minutes with the Old Lord's Talisman. And since we're using all faith spells anyways, it's a clear winner over the Dragon Scale Katana. Another good reason to use the regular katanas is that any acceptable Ash of War can be applied to them to increase scaling and add dope effects, so we're going to be using the Raptor of the Mists Ash of War on your katana with the Keen Affinity to increase its dex scaling from a B to an A, as well as to sort of mimic the feeling of a substitution jutsu. Your last weapon will be the 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿. You know what, I'm not even going to bother saying this name, I can't do it. This will be your Chidori because you can apply the Electrify Armament spell to both your katanas and even the fist weapons. I'll get more into the spell later, but it gives a lot of damage to both weapons, and mine currently gives around 200 additional damage for 90 seconds, and it looks pretty fucking cool. On your fist weapon, you'll want to equip the Bloodhound Step to Naruto run away from bad situations or be aggressive in gap close with your Chidori, and make sure both weapons have the Keen Affinity to get a higher dexterity scaling, and you're all set, which brings us to the jutsus now. So now we're going to focus on the jutsus or incantations or spells, whatever you want to call them, same thing. The Gravelstone Seal will be your primary sacred seal specifically because it gives a 15% additional boost to Dragon Cult incantations, and half of our total incantations used are considered Dragon Cult, so it makes sense, and it also scales the best compared to the others with this build. Side note, these also stack, so as long as you have 2 of them and you put 1 in each hand, the passive from the other stays active as long as it's out and equipped regardless of its level. So just max out 1 and offhand the other if you want the most damage from your spells. The main incantations that we'll use to replicate Sasuke's most iconic jutsus are the Electrify Armament, Dragon Bolt Blessing, Scouring Black Flame, aspects of the Crucible Breath, Frozen Lightning Spear, and the Stone of 𝙀𝙋𝙋𝘼𝙉. I'll be going into a little detail about each spell and how they're used. The first one we have is the Electrify Armament, and as I mentioned earlier, gives 0.75 times your total incant scaling as lightning damage, meaning the higher your incant scaling, the more lightning damage you'll get. This is used to replicate the Chidori or the Chidori Koken and gives a lot of damage for a 90-second duration that can be extended further if you use the Old Lord Talisman, which again increases durations by 30%. The Dragon Bolt Blessing was my creative twist on what a Susanoo would be in Elden Ring, because a Susanoo is meant to protect the user and usually forms around Sasuke and others to protect them. And while this spell does not reduce damage or increase defense, it slightly stuns attackers and makes all one-handed light attacks bounce off your body, with the exception of whips. And it makes all one-handed non-charged heavies bounce off your body as well, and except whips, great, and colossal weapons for this one, leaving them vulnerable to counterattacks or confused as fuck as to what the hell just happened to them, for a 70-second duration, which is also extended by the Old Lord's Talisman. For the Amaterasu, you can utilize the Scouring Black Flame or the regular Black Flame. Both are up to preference really, you can use one or the other, or both if you really choose to. The Scouring is an AoE damaging area in the shape of a cone, and the regular Black Flame is a mid-ranged orb, so again it's just up to you. Both will do damage and then leave a burn that ticks away at enemy HP for a short duration. The Stone of 𝙀𝙀𝙋𝘼𝙉 is what we'll use to replicate a little planetary devastation. It is stronger than the Lightning Spear, it has a fast cast time and a huge stagger damage as well, on top of the fact that it is very spammable and fun to use. For the Fireball Jutsu, we have the aspects of the Crucible Breath. This spell is honestly a huge letdown, and it lets you breathe out fire like Sasuke, which looks super cool, but honestly that's all it really is. It has an awful range and can be interrupted very easily, so you can just replace it with literally any other fireball incantation if you want. You'd be better off damage-wise using anything else instead. But hey, this looks cooler. And lastly, we have the Frozen Lightning Spear, which is meant to replicate Kirin. It's super cool and super flashy, but it's really hard to hit and can be interrupted, but it's nice that it deals the full damage immediately if anything gets hit by the initial stake, and follows up after a short delay, dealing the same damage in a smaller AoE. Some final notes include your physics flask. If you want to maximize your damage, you can use the Lightning Shrouding Crack tier and or the Flame Shrouding Crack tier to give you a 20% buff to their respective damage types for 3 minutes each, which include all of the spells you'll be using, and also further increases the melee damage if Electrify Armament is applied after using the Lightning tier specifically. Thank you all so much for watching. Seriously, if you made it this far, we're already at 50,000 subs and growing faster, and hopefully keep steady and shoot past our 100,000 sub goal. Most people don't make it this far, so if you did, you're the absolute fucking go, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thanks a ton for supporting what I do, seriously. That'll be all for this video. Make sure you check out my Twitch, my community Discord for Elden Ring and other Souls games, and leave a comment for what you want to see next. Peace.